Welcome to the SBR NHL Double Play of the Day video. It's Tuesday, February 11th, and no, you're not seeing things. This is us at our new time, noon Eastern, 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, right here at sportsbookreview.com and on the SBR YouTube channel, breaking down our top plays in the NHL. Joined, as always, by Adam Booth. Same two guys, same great show, just at a different time now, moving forward.
Yeah, well,
Eastern.
The SBR powers that be decided we're on a little bit of a losing streak. Let's shake things up. Maybe we can help them out of their rut.
Yeah, exactly.
Get some more sleep, boys. You need it,
Yeah, that's the reason. Exactly. We've been basically hauling ass right now in our plays lately. So we just needed a shakeup. But no, it's actually because of the schedule. Obviously, it's been changed around a little bit in terms of the shows, introducing new shows. So now we're here 3 days a week. I want to make sure everyone has this clear. Noon Eastern, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, starting today. So looking forward to the new time. To be honest with you, it's going to help you guys out, this new time, because we're going to have more information. We're going to have goalies probably confirmed for a lot of these games by the time we do these videos, which wasn't the case when we were doing them at 10:15 a.m. Eastern time. The morning skates for a lot of teams were just starting right around that time. So we should have more info to give you when we give out these plays, especially when it comes to starting goalie information. A reminder, sbrvideo.com/NHL. Make sure you check out that website because Adam Booth has great articles there. Jimmy Murphy has great NHL articles there. The daily written content for NHL hockey at sbrvideo.com/NHL. It is fantastic. It's going to help you out and make you a more educated NHL hockey better. So make sure you're checking that out on a daily basis. Let's get into it with our plays. Let's start, as always, with Adam. He's targeted the game between the St. Louis Blues and the Anaheim Ducks, the nightcap on the Tuesday night schedule tonight, courtesy of SBRodds.com. Make sure you're using SBRodds.com and checking it out every day to get the best line and price with each bet you make. St. Louis -150 to -160, road favorites, total 5.5, shaded to the under, -120 to -125. Anaheim Ducks have been on the road for a very, very long time, and we know this is always a tricky spot for the West Coast team when they've been out east in the Eastern time zone. The air miles have piled up, and now they're returning home following that road trip. And when you look at the schedule, it's been a very compressed schedule for Anaheim. They were in Ottawa last Tuesday. They were in Montreal Thursday, in Toronto Friday, in Buffalo for an early start Sunday afternoon game, and now they're back home and playing 48 hours later in the Pacific time zone. So just from a pure scheduling standpoint, this is tricky as it gets probably for the Anaheim Ducks. And now having to face Stanley Cup champions ain't going to make things much easier. So Adam, seeing things lining up here, both in terms of the matchup, better team, probably the better spot against the weaker team in a really tricky spot. You're on St. Louis, Adam. Tell us why you like the Blues.
Yeah, well, the Blues are a team that I've gone against quite a bit over this last little rough spot. I had the Jets against them twice, both money line and alt puck line. I had the Stars against them. And I think in the Canes game, I had the over 2.5 on Carolina, which barely got there, I think, late in the third. But, the Blues, sometimes all you need is a little bit of a road trip to get out of a rut you're in. And the Blues are in a rut. It sort of started to slide after the last time I took them in this matchup. I had them as my play of the day on the puck line against Anaheim, and they came out with a 3-1 or 4-1 win there. And a lot of my angle there was it was a better spot than their prior meeting in November when the Ducks were waiting for them after St. Louis came back from Columbus. And the rationale was better scheduling spot. Sure, the price isn't that fantastic, but we've got a discrepancy in the system, the talent level, the form. But coming into today, Anaheim actually had an excellent, by their standards, I would say a fantastic, successful road trip out east. It started with a win, I think it was LA, and then they went and they picked up 2 wins and 2 overtime losses against some pretty good teams that are either in a playoff spot or in the mix. Buffalo and Ottawa are kind of, floundering, of course, but they were a road dog price in all 4 cities, and they came out with, 6 of a possible 8 points or whatever it was. So I would say that showed an improvement in the Ducks play. Sometimes teams will overlook Anaheim are teams at that level when they come to town. And maybe that happened a bit there. I was on Buffalo and I was on Ottawa. Actually, no, I was on all four. I was on all four against the Ducks, and the Ducks burned me all 4 games. And so they could do so here again tonight. But I think the focus for St. Louis team that doesn't want to see, their playoff home ice advantage. They know they're going to the playoffs. They're not going to have a massive losing streak that's going to be bad enough to send them out of it. They're only a few games away, I'm sure. Well, a few games. They're a handful of games away from, clinching a division spot. But I think the focus of the Blues is, we know we haven't been playing as well as we could. We know we've been playing against some teams playing more desperate, more frantic. And so as far as the psychology of it, I don't think this is a game that St. Louis overlooks simply because they were pretty shit at home for the last little stretch, minus the Carolina game. But even the Carolina game, they're not really playing their style of hockey. They're still allowing 3 goals against, even though it's late and they had a dominant lead. And so the focus of St. Louis beginning this road trip and trying to at least get back to like 500 in a span of games is important. The Ducks, full credit to them on that trip. We do see them returning from the East Coast all the way back home to California. So it is that successful trip. Maybe they just sort of slow first period, but I'm happy going against Anaheim here, even for the chalky road price. Because I think the Ducks are a perfect team for the Blues to try to get that win. And if they are focused on playing their best beginning the road trip, then the price makes sense to me. So I'm on the Blues money line and I'm on the Blues puck line, and I've posted those on Twitter already this morning, this afternoon. So that's the rationale for it. I haven't played anything on the total here. It could be, again, one of those games where it's lopsided. I think the Ducks will struggle if the Blues get up to that 3-4 goals. But if St. Louis is playing their best, they want to keep the Ducks under 2. So even though the Ducks, you could say, are playing better hockey through February, I do think it's a part of they're playing some inconsistent teams out in the East. Buffalo, Montreal, as we saw last night again from the Habs. The Habs, by the way, are just one of my most frustrating teams to bet. These are teams that there's a reason they haven't clinched a spot or are moving towards clinching a spot is because they are susceptible. And Anaheim pounced on that, and they got some games in overtime, and they even won straight up a couple times. And so the quality, though, of St. Louis, which is a top 5 team in the league, so you got to put them in the class of the Tampa Bays, the Bostons, the Colorados. And if you do that, the price makes sense to me. So it's still hanging around where it was when I took it. I really don't think it should go down too much more. And if it comes up to like minus 145, that also still makes sense to me. So that kind of range, minus 145 to minus 160, is where they should be. So yeah, that's
they certainly get to pounce. Yeah, they certainly get to pounce on Anaheim at the right moment because the Ducks are obviously returning from a long road trip. So if this isn't a possibility and or a chance for St. Louis to get back on track and start playing better, you got to start worrying a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Anaheim starts the road trip on the 1st of February in LA and then flies cross country. And so you say they've been on the road for 10 days, playing decent. And so it's not a guarantee that there's a correlation between, teams off of good road trips losing in the first game back. But I do think it adds value to the Blues spot. So that's mine, Ian. Yours is one that I'm on already. And it was a bit surprising that's not a 6. These teams are both capable of playing to unders. We've seen Philly much better on the defensive end this year when they do get that great goaltending, and we have seen improvements. Yeah, no, absolutely. They shut down a good Florida offense. So we do see spurts of it, and we know that Barry Trotz's Islanders are capable of having very low scoring games. So I'm on the over as well, but it is one that I can see the argument for not taking it. So why don't you break it down?
Yeah, I mean, it's not so much. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Islanders could revert back to 3-1, 2-1 hockey any moment. There's no question because that's really the way they've played a large part of the season. But that ain't the way they're playing lately. The New York Islanders are 7-3-1 to the over in their last 11 games. By the way, I'll just introduce the line. My play from the Philadelphia New York Islanders game. Islanders minus 135. Home favorites, the total 5.5 in some spots. There's still 5.5 at bookmaker/Chris, 6 in other spots. So make sure you shop around. And again, SBRodds.com will help you do that. Make sure if you like the over in this game, you do find one of those 5.5s that are still out there in this game. And I do like the over in this game. Philadelphia 7-1 to the over the last 8 on the road. Their defense has been not quite as tight on the road. They've really actually at times given up some big goals on the road, even though they are capable of being a solid defensive team. But on the road, they've trended to the over. You look at both of these teams, they're on the second night of back-to-back games coming into tonight. The Philadelphia Flyers 3-2 to the over with extended rest. The New York Islanders are 5-1 over the total in 6 games on the second night of back-to-back. So they have definitely been trending over the total in that regard. 7-4, I should say, to the over for Philadelphia, the second night of back-to-back games. So both of these teams have trended over on second nights of back-to-backs. You look at the New York Islanders, they're getting production right now from not just Matthew Barzal and a few people, but they're getting depth scoring showing up. Their power play has been working. The Islanders' power play for a large part of last year and earlier this year was struggling, but that's not the case anymore. We've seen this Islanders' power play and special teams really come to life. They've scored a power play goal now in 5 of their last 8 games. You look at the Philadelphia Flyers, same thing for them. They have goals on the power play in 5 of their last 8 games as well. Actually, if you go back further than that, 7 of their last 10 games, they've got a power play goal. So the Philadelphia Flyers in a situation where they've been getting it done with the man advantage as well. Philadelphia likely going to have Brian Elliott in net tonight after Carter Hart made his return in net last night. He was excellent, by the way, in that game against the Florida Panthers. Played great and very impressive considering sometimes I don't trust goalies when they're making that first start back from a long break or a long absence due to injury. But Carter Hart just stepped right in there. It was like a seamless transition for him. He was very, very sharp, tracking the puck well, square to the shooter, cutting down the angles, just making great reads throughout the night and making good saves and helping the Flyers to that victory last night against the Florida Panthers. So you got the Islanders and Flyers both in pretty good offensive form. You look at this Philadelphia team, they have scored 3 goals or more in 5 of their last 6 games, Philadelphia. So they're in good offensive form. On the flip side, you look at the Islanders, they've scored 3 goals or more now in 4 of their last 5 games. And how about the series history head-to-head with the Flyers and Islanders? The series history between these two teams has been littered with overs, 10-1 to the over in the last 11 head-to-head meetings between the Philadelphia Flyers and the New York Islanders. So this was just a value to the number, in my opinion, type of bet for me, because I thought finally with the way we've seen this Islanders team score more, give up a little more, again, a 5-3 game with Washington for them last night, that finally we'd see a little bit of an adjustment and we'd see a 6 at some point with their total, but not the case. This opened 5.5 in most spots. It's now moving up to 6, but there again is still 5.5s out there. I bet it at 5.5, and I think it's definitely some value in it with a team that's not really being priced right now in terms of their recent total surge the way they should be. So my play of the day, hoping this is a slump buster here, Philadelphia New York Islanders over 5.5 minus 125.
Yeah, good one, Ian. Yeah, and it's one that can go. I mean, I'm on Philly, and I know Rod said I think he's on Philly. It's one that can go either way. You know, both teams pick up dominant wins in their own right last night, and you know, back to back. You know, short travel, so it's not a huge issue. It's an interesting one. So I do think, while I'm on Philly, I think the total is probably, I guess, the play I would like the most on that game. So I agree with your selection for the play of the day.
Absolutely. Definitely. I thought value for sure. And again, 10 of the last 11 have gone over the total between those two teams, the Flyers and the Islanders. So hoping for.
Well, it's a 5.5 total too. So that's, you know, if you're saying it should be a 6, That absolutely, it's that value play to, you need 3 goals by each or a 3-2 with an empty net. These things happen regularly, and I think the defense of the Islanders, I've been saying this since I think middle of
They miss
December.
Adam Pelech. They miss Adam Pelech.
Yeah.
Adam Pelech won't sound alarm bells on the betting marketplace, or Joe Public's not going to, take notice of Adam Pelech being out. But I can trace the Islanders' decline a little bit defensively to when he got hurt, and since he's been out, the Islanders haven't been quite as sharp at the back end.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, that should wrap it up. We any day now we're gonna get that 2-0, Ian. I believe it at.
Yeah, we're due. We are due. And again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Unfortunately, what's funny? My favorite plays of the day, they're doing well on the nights we're not doing the video, and lately they've been doing poorly on the days we are doing the video. So that's been the kind of, like, Calgary would have been my play of the day last night, and they ended up cruising to a victory against San Jose in the late night hours. So hopefully we got a winner in the bank tonight. Just to recap, St. Louis -150 against Anaheim for Adam, and I like the Philadelphia Flyers New York Islanders game over 5.5 -125. Let's go for that 2-0 sweep on a Tuesday night. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember if you said it at the beginning, but all the NHL article plays are
SBRvideo.com/NHL. Make sure you visit that. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, too, if you like the content and you like our show. And please tell your friends, if anybody you know is a hockey bettor, hockey fan, and likes hockey, likes betting.
We do exist. Hockey bettors do exist out there.
I know. I know we're battling. We're pushing the ball uphill. Traveling upstream a little bit compared to sports like football and basketball. But hey, hockey's a hardcore fan base, and if you know anyone that's one of those hockey hardcores, let them know about the Play of the Day show here at sportsbookreview.com for the NHL. So for Adam Booth, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Good luck with your wagers. We're back Thursday at noon Eastern time for the next edition of the SBR Double Play. Have a great night. Good luck with your wagers. We'll see you again on Thursday.